What is up, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Touchdown and Ties, the father-daughter sports podcast discussing football and everything else in between. I'm your co-host, Brianna, the daughter of this duo.
What up, though, everybody? I'm the other co-host, Keith, her dad.
And in this week's episode, we're going to be diving into all of the games that happened in college football of Week 4. But before we do, if you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. That way you get updated whenever we upload an episode. And it also helps us out as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's do it.
So welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It feels good to be back.
You've been gone for some time now, but we can go ahead and dive back into this. So this week in college football was a little bit slower compared to last week. So unfortunately for you, you did miss some good games, but we still have a few things to dive into today. So the previously highly anticipated matchup between Florida and Miami ended up being kind of a bust that everybody expected after the way that Florida has started out their season. So Clemson is struggling to start off their season this year, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. And then we also have some strong teams in the Big Ten. A lot of teams in the Big Ten are ranked this year. I guess we'll go ahead and start off with that game that happened in Lincoln.
Let's do it.
All right. So Michigan starts off their Big Ten play 1-0 against Nebraska. Nebraska, unfortunately, extending its 6-year losing streak to start out Big Ten openers. In this game, Michigan's usual bully ball run game was actually effective against the Pat Mahomes clone Dylan Raiola and the Cornhuskers. So Michigan gets its third victory this season, and then this is their second victory without their head coach at the helm. This is actually very familiar territory for the Wolverines. It's kind of weird for me personally with Michigan. It's like 1 week you're complaining about the run game, begging them to change it, and then the next week you're praising about how good it is. And this week was one of those weeks. Michigan finished with 286 yards rushing. They had 3 rushing TDs from Justice Haynes, who had a nasty 75-yard touchdown, Jordan Marshall, and Bryce Underwood himself. And, I said this last week, but it's nice to see the reins that Bryce Underwood has been released a bit and allowing him to make some plays as he has the opportunity versus just passing the ball off to his running back. So what do you think about that?
Well, for me, it started up front. You mentioned about playing the bully ball, and it was effective this week against Nebraska. So for me, I always look at the trenches on both sides of the ball. So, against Oklahoma, Michigan was not able to dominate the line of scrimmage and get the running game going. But against Nebraska, they were. They had almost 300 yards rushing. Yeah. Justice Hayes had another big, long run. Bryce Underwood had a nice little quarterback draw, if you will, right up the middle to score a touchdown. So the running game really got going. But to me, the concern is for the passing game. I mean, the passing game to me doesn't look any different than it did last year. They were able to get away with it this week against Nebraska, but at some point when you play teams with a high-powered offense like a USC, like Ohio State, to a certain extent, even the Washington Huskies, Michigan has to find a way to be more balanced on offense because you're going to run teams that can match your physicality up front on that offensive line, defensive line, or whatever. And that's what happened against Oklahoma. So, it's a concern. I mean, they looked good yesterday. They got the win. Happy that they won, obviously. But I'm still a little bit concerned about their passing attack. The wide receivers, outside of the running game, they have no playmakers on the outside. I mean, they got the kid from Indiana who looks pretty good when he does get an opportunity to catch the ball. McCauley, I think is his name. But they don't have any playmakers outside of their running game. And eventually that's going to catch up to them.
I feel like I should know the answer to this, but Samaj Morgan, he's a wide receiver, right? On Michigan?
Yes.
And then Rod Moore, he's a defensive guy, isn't he?
He's a defensive back, yes.
Yeah, okay, Rod Moore's a defensive
Just coming back off
an
injury, actually.
Right.
He played a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, so I guess other than Samaj Morgan, I don't really know who else, Michigan really has an outside. Yeah.
Exactly, especially because these guys don't make plays.
Yeah, plays. Yeah, especially with the tight end position too as well. Like we lost some. Obviously, we had Schoon a couple years ago, but we had what's that dude's name?
Colston Loveland.
Yeah, he was he actually stepped up pretty well for Michigan when Schoon left as well. So just missing some of those guys too. Like I said, it kind of depleted in the wide receiver and the tight end position as well.
But the wide receivers that they have on the outside seem to be pretty talented. But they just, for some reason, have not figured out a way to get these guys involved. I mean, for Bryce Underwood, the thing that I've noticed about him is that every throw is like 100 miles per hour. Even when he's just trying to throw something underneath, he's throwing the ball like at 100 miles per hour, and it bounces off the hands of the receiver. He's missing on easy throws for a D1 quarterback, a 5-star D1 quarterback. He's missing on throws that should be really easy for him. I don't know what to contribute to that. I don't know if he's rushing through everything or whatever, but
Right.
he has to find a way to complete some of those passes, to calm down a little bit, complete some of those passes, make some of those big plays, to take some of the pressure off the running game. Because in that game against Nebraska, he had several opportunities to make some plays, like little screen passes or whatever it
Right.
was. And he was just throwing the ball in my opinion, I just thought he was throwing the ball too hard.
Right.
For the distance that he was trying to throw the ball, it was just coming at the receiver too hard, too fast.
Right. Yeah.
And it would bounce off their hand and they would be forced to punt the ball and that sort of thing. But fortunately for Michigan, their defense yesterday was really good. I mean,
Yeah.
outside of those first two drives, Nebraska got the ball. The
Mm.
first two drives of the game, they had an opportunity to score. Michigan stopped them on 4th and 2, I think it was, at the 5 or 6 yard line. And then Nebraska got the ball back a second time, drove down to like the Michigan 20-yard line
Mhm.
and missed a field goal.
Yeah, I
After
think they got in
that,
the red zone 4 times, Nebraska did, so the fact
yeah,
that, the score was
yeah,
close. They did
yeah,
score 27 points, but the fact that they got in the red zone 4 times and it was only 27 points, I think that's something to commend, especially for the defense because they held it down,
yeah.
and they sacked what's his face
7.
7 times.
They
7
stacked
times. They sacked
Raiola
Dylan
7
Raiola
times
7 times.
and pressured him a lot more than that. So, the
Mhm.
defense was really the key to that game yesterday because the
Yeah.
crowd was hyped.
Mhm.
Nebraska trying to break that, what was a 5-year losing streak of losing their
6.
Big Ten opener at home. And now it's 6 because they lost to Michigan.
Mhm.
It was they were highly motivated.
Yeah.
Like I said, the players were highly motivated. The crowd was hyped, and Michigan, they had Michigan on their heels.
They
Those
did.
first couple of drives of the game, and Michigan was able to withstand that, keep them off the
Mhm.
board. Then their offense finally got it going. Bryce scored that touchdown, and from there they calmed down. And then they had that Hail Mary at the end of the
Just
first half or
the first
whatever.
half, yeah.
But overall, Michigan's defense played well. They're gonna,
Mhm.
obviously they're gonna have to continue to improve. It's only week 4.
Mhm.
um, things are going to get better for them, but the offense is really going to have to pick it up a little bit. Nice
Yeah.
victory against Nebraska. Good
Mhm.
team, a good quarterback, good coach. They have some things coming up here after their bye week. They have Wisconsin, which is struggling a little bit, but then after that, they got to go
Mhm.
to LA to play USC. So
Mhm.
they're gonna have to get some
Maybe the
things
next big
corrected.
game.
Yeah, gonna have to get some things fixed here.
They're going back to defense really quick, I guess, teachable moment. I keep hearing this term a lot when you keep saying, like, the guys up front. What does that mean?
It's your defensive lineman. It's your either you're going to play like a 3-4 front or a
Okay. Yeah,
4-3 front.
4-3.
So,
Okay.
it's those guys, the interior guys up front, your
Okay.
defensive end, your defensive linemen that control the game.
Mhm.
It's not, I won't say control the game, but those guys are key. Like last year, for the last 3 or 4 years, actually, Michigan had Kenneth Grant, they had Mason Graham. So it made
Mm.
it difficult for teams to run against Michigan because those guys were
Okay.
really, really good. Both those guys turned out to be first round draft picks, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, they were.
And yesterday, Michigan's defensive line, I want to say they dominated Nebraska's offensive line, but Nebraska only had 43 yards rushing. And
Mhm.
that's usually the key to the game. I mean, if you can run the ball and stop the other team from running the ball, you generally will win those games. And
Mhm.
that's what happened with Michigan yesterday. They held Nebraska to 43 yards rushing. And on the
Mhm.
other side, they rushed for almost 300 yards.
Mhm.
And that was the difference of the game. I mean, because
Okay.
Bryce only had 105 yards passing. So it's got to
Mhm.
start in the trenches.
Mhm.
There used to be an announcer back in the day named Keith Jackson. He used to call them the big uglies. The big uglies got to control the game for you. And
Okay.
fortunately for Michigan, they were able to do that on the offensive
Mhm.
side and on the defensive side in that game.
So when you say working on the passing game too, would you also throw in, like, defense to work on the secondary as well? Like, with their DBs and stuff like that against
What do
other
you mean?
teams? Because, like, obviously, if you have, teams like SC or Ohio State who pass the ball a lot, like, how do you feel like Michigan's secondary is? They're in the defense. Like, are they fine?
Secondary played decent yesterday. The kid from Nebraska had over 100 yards receiving. I can't think of his name, but he had a really good game. He had over 100 yards
Mhm.
receiving in that game yesterday. The freshman out there, number 27, I can't remember his name either, from Michigan. He played well.
Mm.
Overall, I think the secondary is going to have to improve as well. But
Yeah.
your secondary really is only going to be as good as those guys up front, because I don't care who's in your secondary. If the guys up front
Mhm. I see where you're
are
going.
not putting any pressure on the
on the
quarterback, he's
quarterback.
he's going
Yeah.
to pick you apart. I mean, you have, talented receivers on the outside. You have a talented quarterback. If you give these guys time to sit back there and, get open, they will get open.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as Michigan can keep developing up front with their defensive linemen, putting pressure, I mean, you're not going to get 7 sacks every game,
Mm-hmm.
but you just have to pressure the quarterback. You have to make him uncomfortable back there, and that will
Okay.
help with your secondary.
It's like a chain reaction, essentially, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
That makes sense. All
Mhm.
right. We got some other good teams in the Big Ten, Illinois versus Indiana. Technically, you can call it an upset and a pretty bad upset yesterday because number 19, Indiana, blew out number 9, Illinois, 63-10. And there was some talk about Illinois being pretty good this year because of how they ended up starting their season. To be fair, both teams were starting out pretty good this year. Again, rankings don't really mean too much going into just AP rankings. So I forget when the college football rankings kind of come out for the playoffs at least, but
I think it's end of October, maybe.
October, that's what I thought. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it doesn't really mean too much right now, but there was really no point in that game that I don't think anybody thought that Illinois was going to win. I mean, Indiana came out strong from the beginning and they stayed strong until the end. Illinois scored 1 touchdown in the first quarter and they scored a field goal in the second, and they didn't do anything else for the rest of the game. It was all Hoosiers.
Total domination by IU.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the second year in a row that they've
Mm-hmm.
looked pretty good. I mean, they made
Yeah.
the playoffs last year, obviously.
Yeah.
No, the Big 18, as I call it now. It's not
Yeah.
the big. I don't know why
Not
they
the
want
Big
to change the
10.
name. The Big 18, and IU
Yeah.
has really stepped up. They're going to be a
Yeah.
factor. They're definitely going to be a
Yeah.
factor in the Big 10. But so will Michigan. I mean,
Michigan. Yeah.
they have a favorable schedule.
Yeah.
The rest of the way. Right now, they only have 2 teams that are ranked, being USC and
See
Ohio
in
State.
Ohio.
They don't play Penn State, at least not in the regular season. They don't play Penn State. They don't play Indiana.
Don't play
They're not playing
Oregon.
Illinois. They're not playing Oregon. So, they have a
Right.
favorable schedule. It don't mean they're going to run the table, but,
Yeah.
they should be a factor
Yeah.
in the Big 10.
I mean, strength of schedule does play a big part with the committee's decision ultimately when they do all the rankings and stuff at the end for the actual college football playoff. But I feel like if Michigan can perform well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, even if they maybe do lose to Ohio State, because Ohio State is probably not going to fall in the rankings this year. I don't really see anybody beating them. So say if they aren't favorable in that game, but they do win out every other game, I feel like they should still be contenders in the playoffs this year.
I think so. I mean, because
Yeah.
if, let's say they run the table up until that Ohio State game and they finish the season 10-2
Mhm.
with one of their losses being to Oklahoma, the other loss being to Ohio State,
Mhm.
there's a good chance that they will make the playoffs with
Mhm.
2 losses. But, we have
Yeah.
to wait and see how things play out. A lot can happen. You got to see what the
Mhm.
other teams are going to do. But if Michigan was to finish the season ranked, at 10-2, I think they have a really good chance of making the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But it's going to be tough. I mean, even
Yeah.
though, Michigan is not a juggernaut team like they were, a few years ago under Harbaugh or whatever. So going into
Yeah.
places like SC, you got to play Maryland, you got to play
Mhm.
Wisconsin. I mean, those games are still going to be tough in Michigan because you got to remember they're
Yeah.
doing it with a freshman quarterback. Still
Yeah.
going to be tough. Even though they don't play some of the tougher teams in the conference, it's still going to be a tough
Mhm.
road to get to 10-2 if they're able to do it.
Yeah. And I don't want to overlook Michigan State either. I've always said that no matter how good either team is that year, that game is always so weird with
Yeah.
Michigan. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to say it was the year that we still ended up beating Ohio State and winning the Big Ten
Mhm.
that year. We lost to Michigan
Mhm.
State that year, and we were a
Lost to
really,
Michigan
really good
State.
team. That was our
Yeah.
only loss that year. So I don't want to overlook them either. So that's going to
Yeah.
be a tough game for them too. So
Yeah. No disrespect to the Spartans. I just trying, thinking of things off the top of my head. I forgot about that game.
yeah,
That game is always tough. It
it's always tough.
doesn't matter the
Always.
records. I mean, like you
Yeah.
just said, the year that Michigan made it to the uh playoff, I
Big
guess. I don't know if it was the year they lost to TCU in the playoffs or whatever, but
Yeah, it was that first year,
they
but yeah.
lost. Yeah, they lost that game to Michigan
Yeah.
State. So
Yeah.
it's
It could have
always
been the
tough.
TCU or the Georgia year because I remember it was because
Yeah,
I was there. So I
right.
want to say it was the year that we beat
I think it
Ohio
was the
State for the
TCU.
first
Yeah,
time.
I think it was
And
the
then
TCU year, but I'm not sure.
the TCU
I'm not
year
sure.
was the
Mhm.
second year. The first year we went to the playoffs, we played Georgia. That was
So that
that
would have been in
year.
20. Georgia was in 21.
Mm-hmm.
TCU would have been in 22.
22. They
Uh,
won it, yeah,
and they won it in 20. Did they win 23? Yeah, because Ohio State won last year in 24. Yeah,
20,
so yeah, so it may be either way it go. Playing
right.
Michigan State ever since I've been watching football. Even when Michigan has been the dominant team, there was a stretch there earlier this. I'll say this decade, probably this century, I guess, in the
Mhm.
2000s, that Michigan State kind of took over the rivalry a little bit and won 5 or 6 games in a row when Michigan was down. But those games are always tough. It's a rivalry
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Those games are always going to be tough. So that's my point. And I'm not sure where the game is this year. I don't know if it's
Me
in
neither, I
Lansing,
don't
East Lansing,
remember.
or in Ann
Yeah, I don't
Arbor.
remember.
But wherever it's played, it's gonna be a tough game.
It'll
I
be a
know
tough
it's
game.
October the 25th.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's in Michigan or in Ann Arbor or in East Lansing.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a tough
Perfect.
game.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the SEC. So the SEC opened up last night, probably the biggest game because so many of their teams were on a bye week or, playing Sam Houston or whoever. It was
Right,
Auburn
right.
versus OU. So the big talk of that game, it continues to be John Mateer for his Heisman contention. So he did well last night. He had 270 yards passing. He did have a passing and a rushing touchdown himself. And he actually has thrown and rushed for a touchdown in 10 straight games. He had a 9-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter to help OU get back on top after Auburn had just taken the lead. And their defense was crazy last night, too. They had a school record. They had 10 sacks against their former OU quarterback. So they did really, really good there. So what do you think about John Mateer?
That game was being played at the same time the Michigan-Nebraska game was on. So I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of watching both games.
Yeah.
And it was like every time I looked up, the Auburn quarterback was getting sacked. It was crazy. I mean, that
Yeah.
Oklahoma defense was everywhere. They
Nasty.
were swarming,
Yeah.
yeah. And I keep bringing everything back to Michigan. But now all of a sudden that loss to Oklahoma doesn't look as bad
That's bad. Yeah.
because going into the season, people didn't expect Oklahoma to be good. And quite frankly,
Mm-hmm.
right now they're looking like one of the best teams
Best
in
teams. Yeah.
college football. So that loss all of a sudden that they had in Norman doesn't look as bad. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as the game yesterday, their defense is just incredible. John Mateer
Yeah.
on offense is making plays. So
Left and right.
the
Yeah.
Venables have got those guys rolling, man, and Oklahoma is
Mm-hmm.
going to be a factor, in the
Mm-hmm.
college football playoff this year, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, and then closing it out in the ACC, Syracuse and Clemson. So the big talk of that, which is kind of surprising with the whole Clemson situation, because I know when I was kind of first really, really getting into college football, Clemson
Right,
was dominating. It was like the SEC versus the ACC all the time. So much so
right.
before I would always get confused. I thought that Clemson was in the SEC with the way that they were dominating because usually it's the SEC that does that. For the first time in the Dabo Swinney era, Clemson has fallen to 1-3. And after a disappointing loss against Syracuse at home, Dabo Swinney was visibly emotional after his team fails to perform once again starting out this season. So now they have a loss to LSU, they have a loss to Georgia Tech, and then now they have a loss to Syracuse. So it's kind of tough for them right now. It's understandable. Dabo Swinney is entering his 18th year at this school. So he started out there as a wide receivers coach, and then he moved into the head coaching position once the previous coach, retired. And like I said, again, it's understandable. There was one point in time where they were running things. He has won 2 out of 3 of the national championships. He's won 9 ACC championships, most recently last year. And he's coached some iconic players like Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, and DeAndre Hopkins. For them to kind of be like off on the tail end of things right now, probably hitting him hard, and it's hitting the fans harder, and they just can't understand why. And actually, I take that back. They can't understand why, because Dabo has this thing about kind of being really stubborn about this new landscape of college football and NIL and how these guys want to be coached in XYZ. But, Nick Saban, he had those same reservations before he retired. And yesterday, even he said that, if Dabo and his Clemson Tigers want to continue to have the same success that they've had in the past, he's going to have to get with the program and change some things up with his team before he gets left behind. So, which unfortunately, the last time they did something was with Trevor Lawrence in 2020. So they might already be getting left behind. So, yeah, what do you think?
I definitely think Dabo is going to have to adapt a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
think it's just his refusal to dip into the transfer portal to help his team out. I mean, I watched a little bit of that game against Syracuse, and they just really looked like they were just outcoached.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if this comes from, I mean, I guess everything starts with the head coach. So if you're saying that the
Right.
team
Yeah.
doesn't look prepared and not ready to play, then that falls on the head coach, because at no time did it look like Syracuse was the better, that Clemson was the better team on that field against Syracuse. They dominated the game. Dabo has refused to go into the portal. I don't know if that's, that singular
Mm,
thing would be the thing that could fix their program. But,
mhm.
when you're used to, competing and winning championships, and now all of a sudden, this is the 5th year in a row that you will lose at least 3 games in the
Mhm.
regular season. I
Mhm.
think they lost 4 games the last 2 years.
Mhm.
But 5 years in a row that you've lost at least 3 games, I mean, the fan base is going to get a little restless.
Right.
But, Dabo is not going anywhere.
He's not going
So
anywhere.
they're going to
He's
have
not
to
going
find a
anywhere.
way to fix this thing and get it going.
Yeah. All right. So looking ahead to next week in college football, we have some better matchups next week. This week was a little bit slower than we would have liked, but we'll see. The classic matchup that usually is Alabama and Georgia is next week. I'm curious to see how well that game is going to be, considering how Alabama has not really been Alabama as much lately. We have a big matchup as well in the Big Ten. We have number 2 Penn State versus number 6 Oregon. And then we have Washington playing Ohio State. Any of those games you're excited or looking forward to?
Penn State, Oregon,
Yeah, it's the
because
whiteout
Michigan is
game.
off next week. So yeah, Penn State,
Mhm.
Oregon, I'll be interested in that game, definitely. I mean, any game that's in the Big 18,
Oh my
I'm gonna I'm
God.
gonna I'm gonna be interested in watching.
Yeah.
So that one definitely is going to jump off the page or
Mhm.
whatever. So
Mhm.
I'll definitely pay attention to that game.
Yeah, I guess then you have LSU and Ole Miss, and then you have Auburn and A&M. So it'll be a more productive week, I feel like, in college football next week. I know that you don't really care about Ohio State, but I always still kind of pay attention to what they're doing just so I can kind of get a gauge on what I'm looking at going into November. So I'm not too anxious about the game. But,
I
last year
don't
I
I don't
was
have to.
for sure, I thought we were going to lose and we won. So shut
Absolutely.
me up real quick, so you never know. You literally never know. So we still might
As-
do it again this year. I'm not counting them out because last year I was like not even watching it, but I
right.
did. And I was pleasantly surprised.
As a Michigan fan, I don't have to pay attention to Ohio State because I already know they're going to be good. I mean, nobody's going to beat
That is
Ohio
true.
State until,
Yeah.
maybe Michigan beat them at the end of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's going to beat those guys, man. I mean, so that's why I
Yeah.
don't have to pay attention to them. I mean, I already know they're going to win.
Yeah.
I know they're going to win. Who you say they play? Washington?
Washington.
Yeah, they're gonna win that game.
Yeah.
They win
Washington
that
on the
game.
road. They do play them on the road. Yeah.
So they
What do you
go
think of
to Washington.
they go to Seattle? Yeah.
They go, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't care where they play.
It doesn't
I don't care where they
matter.
play.
Yeah.
They're gonna win the game.
What do you think about Georgia and Bama? You think that that's still going to be a good game even with this current state of Bama, or do you think that Georgia's going to take that one?
Neither team is as good as they've been in the past, obviously, but it's
Yeah.
a rivalry game.
Mm.
I think Georgia will win. I think Georgia is ranked what, top 5 right now, if I'm not
5.
mistaken.
They're
I'm
not
not
there. They're
sure.
5. Yeah. And the game
Uh,
is in Athens too. So
yeah, I think Georgia will win that game.
yeah.
I think they'll win
Go
that game.
dogs.
But we'll see. I mean,
We'll
until
see.
these teams start showing me something differently. I mean, I've been underwhelmed by Alabama, obviously, in a year and a half since Nick Saban has been gone. But they haven't really won a big game since he's been gone. So
Mhm.
until they do, I'm not gonna, predict that they will do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
That's
Georgia will win
fair.
the game.
Nice. I know you wanted to pivot a little bit and make a quick shout out to one of your favorite players in a different league.
Aja Wilson,
Yep.
WNBA, just won her 4th league MVP award, or a record for the league. So shout out to Aja
Mhm,
Wilson, one of
mhm.
my favorite players in any sport. I really enjoy watching her play. So they will be playing in the second round of the playoffs against the Indiana Fever, I believe,
Indiana Fever.
starting today. Yeah. So shout out
Nice.
to Aja Wilson for winning her 4th MVP. You go,
All
girl.
right. All right. So then we have to close everything out. We have week 3. Am I behind? Week 3 of the NFL?
Week 3 of the NFL season.
Yeah, week 3. Yeah. So it's week behind college football. So we have week 3 of the NFL. The Lions don't play until tomorrow. So we kind of just
Yeah.
chill out today because the game tomorrow is going to be a tough one. So, but we have some good division matchups today too in the NFL. But Lions and the Ravens tomorrow. What do you think about that?
I think the Lions are going to win. It's time for the Lions to, I mean, I don't want to talk about the Lions like, like they the Lions of old where, they would go in and lose these games because they have won some big
Right.
games over the last 3 years. But
Mhm.
you started off the season with a loss on the road against a tough opponent in Green Bay. You have to find a way to beat Baltimore on the road
Yeah.
in Monday night. It's not going to be easy. Lamar Jackson, to me, is the best player in the NFL.
Mhm.
He's a quarterback without a weakness, in my opinion. So
Oh,
it's gonna
it's
be
a bold statement.
yeah, well, I can say that about Josh Allen too. Josh Allen is a quarterback without a weakness. I mean, there
Mhm.
are certain guys there that are in that category, and
Mhm.
Lamar Jackson, make no mistake about it, is in that category. The guy's already won 2 MVPs, should have won last year, in my opinion, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Josh Allen
Yeah.
won, but it's going to be a tough game. But the Ravens defense can be scored upon. I mean, we saw that against Buffalo in week 1. Buffalo was able to put up a
Mhm.
lot of points against the Ravens defense. The Lions offense is just as good as the Buffalo offense, if you ask me.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think the Lions can put up some points against that defense. So
Mhm.
again, for me, it always comes down to the trenches. I mean, we saw in that game against Chicago, the Lions offensive line played a whole lot better than they had in week 1. The defensive line played better than they did in week 1. Whichever team's line controlled the other side of the ball, however you want to say it, that's the team that's going to come out on top because it's got to start up front. You got to give your skilled players an opportunity to do their thing. If the
Mhm.
Lions offensive line, if those guys are able to hold up against the Ravens defensive line, the Lions will probably win the game.
Nice.
We saw with Cleveland last week, I didn't think anybody could do this, but Cleveland last week held Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, I believe, to less than 50 yards rushing. That was
Mhm.
impressive.
Yeah.
Even though Cleveland didn't win the game, but
They didn't win the
but
game
they didn't
because
win the
Lamar was
game.
just
Yeah.
throwing darts downfield into the
Yeah.
secondary. So, Kirby
Right.
Joseph and Brian Branch, they're gonna need to
They're gonna have to
lock
play.
in.
It's gonna be a good
They gotta
game. I
lock
think it's gonna
in.
be a high
Yeah.
scoring game. I think it's gonna be a really good game. The last time the Lions went to Baltimore, they lost 38 to
They lost.
6,
They got blown
something like
out.
that 3 years ago. So we'll see. It's gonna be a good game, but I think the Lions are gonna win. But here's a newsflash. I'm a Lions fan. So I'm gonna
Right.
think they're
Little
gonna win
little
every game. So
little bias there. Yeah.
yeah, I think they're gonna win every game. I think they have an opportunity to
Yeah.
go into whatever stadium and
Yeah.
win any game. So, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to that until again they show me that they can't do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see
But I
tomorrow
do
for
have a
Monday
bone
Night
to pick with
Football.
Lions fans. I wasn't here
Okay.
last week to talk about it, but
Okay.
why are we saying F you to Ben Johnson?
It's
Really?
craziness. Craziness. We
For
can be
all the
salty
things that
because he
this
left and where he left, but that's it there everything gets to a point and you gotta draw the line. Like that was crazy.
You got to do better. I mean, this guy
Yeah.
is not solely responsible, obviously, because you have Dan Campbell as the head coach or whatever. But
Mm,
he helped change the culture of the
mhm.
Detroit Lions team, and
Mm.
for the fans to say "F you, Ben Johnson" and all of that, I thought that was weak. As a Detroit
Yeah.
Lions fan, I thought that was weak. I understand booing the guy, you want to boo him, but even before the
Even
game, like
that, it's
when
like
he's walking out the tunnel and everybody's booing the
yeah.
guy, why? I mean, once the
Yeah.
game starts, then fine. But give him his
Mhm.
moment when he walks out the
Mhm.
tunnel before the game start. You know, acknowledge this guy. Give him his flowers. I mean, why are we mad
Yeah.
that we mad because he went to Chicago? I mean, there are only 32 head coaching jobs available at any given time in the NFL, and he
Mhm.
chose to take one of them. He came
Yeah.
back to Detroit 2 previous seasons to help kind of finish what they
Mhm.
started or whatever. Unfortunately, I could never get over the hump. But then, he chose to go to Chicago. I get that it's a division rival, but why
Mhm.
are we booing the guy when he walk out the tunnel? I mean, give him a standing ovation. When the
Yeah.
game start, then okay, we can boo this guy. But booing him before the game and F you during the game, I just thought that was weak.
Yeah. I don't
In
disagree
my
with
opinion,
you.
that was weak.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because he was pivotal in changing,
Yeah.
making the Lions contenders and competitors, in the recent years because there was a time where you saw the Lions and you looked over them and now you see the Lions on the schedule and then you're not looking over that team and you could say
Yeah.
that he has been a huge integral part of that,
Yeah, he
So like
deserved
you
better.
said, clap for him, whatever, say thank you, whatever. But like I said, once the game starts, it's game time. But before then, like,
Right.
you know,
It's
let the man
different when
take it
it's
in.
different. Yeah, give him his moment. It's different
Yeah.
when Matt Stafford left, right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Matt Stafford, he asked to be traded, right?
Right.
His first season with the Rams, he won a Super Bowl. Good for him. The next time he came to Ford Field was during the playoffs. I'm
Yep.
booing the hell out of Matt Stafford, too, in that situation. It's the
Yeah.
playoffs, dude. Unfortunately, your first time back to Ford Field is during the playoffs.
Yeah.
I have to boo you. I'm sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
I love you when you was a player, but the Lions are trying at that point, they're trying to, get to a place where they hadn't been in 30 years, and that's winning the playoff game. And you and your team were standing in the way. Now, I'm not gonna boo his wife. I'm not gonna boo his kids. I mean, I ain't gonna do all of that. But him, sorry, dude. I mean, your first time back to Ford Field should have been in the playoffs.
Right.
If you want me to cheer for you and, roll out the red carpet and give you a video tribute and all that, we're not doing that in the playoffs, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. But this Ben Johnson situation was different. It wasn't the playoffs, right? It's the second game of the season. Get a man a standing ovation. And once the game start, then boo him. But all that other stuff, man, I don't know. That's just me. I wouldn't have booed the guy.
No.
But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And we appreciate that. So, well, hopefully the Lions fans, they hear that, and we do better as a fan base.
You have to do better, yeah.
It's a game at the end of the day,
It's a game.
Doing too much.
Ben Johnson didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve that.
Free Ben. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap that up here today. So we will check back in with you guys on Tuesday to recap week 3 of the NFL. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, please go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. So that way you can get updated whenever we upload an episode, and it also helps us out as well. Okay, we will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you guys. Stay here till we get back.